Hello, NPBF fans and coaches alike, New Frontier, whoever's viewing this, maybe today's coach's best friend. Uh, we are back again with yet another coach's interview. And while this man likely needs no introduction, I'm going to give him one anyway because other than the video title, you don't know who I'm talking about. So joining me is, without a doubt, the person who is likely to be the biggest, I'd say, wild card of the NPBF, and that's Jesse the J-Dawg Jolteons.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be on here and talk about my team a little bit.
Glad to have you. Glad you could make it on. And man, we are going to be doing a lot of talk about your team. But before we do that, you're here so that everyone who's watching these can get to know you, so that they got all the more reason to cheer you on and root for you and hope to see you try to win the big one again. Because yes, as I did not mention, Jesse is a former champion somehow.
Yeah, right. It's been pretty eventful. So we're in season 16. Looking like it's going to be really fun. Season 15, the previous one, didn't do so hot. I struggled with some of the meta for Gen 6, and I got myself on a hole deep pretty early, and I was able to dig back out, but unfortunately, I couldn't keep the momentum going. So while I didn't get regulated, I didn't make the playoffs, and I was closer to regulation than playoffs, unfortunately. So I'm looking forward to getting back to a Nat Dex with a little bit more shenanigans, maybe even more havoc. So, but season 14, I was able to win it, and which was pretty eventful because that was my first full season. Because I came in season 13, filled in for a coach, was able to make it to playoffs, but unfortunately I did lose. But season 14, I was able to take it all the way. I was able to beat Deshaun in the finals in what was a pretty eventful battle.
Yeah, it was. Before we talk about season 15 a bit, I'm curious, what is your background in competitive Pokemon? What has brought you to the point that has you and I sitting here talking today?
Well, I've never been a real competitive player to a point for Pokemon. Like I've never done a whole lot of tournaments, maybe here or there, but drafts are always the thing that has kind of appealed to me just as a general because I'm a big sports fan, so I love doing fantasy football, love doing fantasy baseball. So this kind of format really appeals to me because you basically have to choose, and to me, fantasy football, you have no impact on what happens. Whatever the players do, that's what happens. But in a draft league for Pokemon, you have control over what happens. So it's important that you know what you're doing. You pick the right Pokemon, and you're able to maximize them to the full potential. So I've done quite a few leagues, and I kind of jump from place to place, seeing new leagues, and this was one that I just happened to find by chance because it was on my Facebook page, and they're like, "Hey, we need someone." I'm like, "Okay, let me join." And yeah, it's actually one of my favorite leagues.
I think you're the first person to really talk about how the sports aspect really appeals, but I get
It
it.
Yeah, it's weird because I would say there's probably a handful of us that are like actual sports fans, and then other ones that are like, "Yeah, I don't know anything about football." So it's kind of cool how these kind of conjoin together to me.
Yeah. Well, the guy who created the format, big sports fan, big football fan, infamously a fan of the Milwaukee Bucks. So you know
Okay.
his taste in basketball is not great.
I
Well,
mean, maybe at the
now,
time
maybe
it
now.
wasn't.
At the time it wasn't. Now apparently the Bucks are awesome, but in 2013 they certainly were not.
No.
Love you, Steve. So that's interesting. Quick and dirty. Quick and dirty. But I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you though that this is the format that speaks and this is the one that works.
Yeah, and the other thing I like about the draft formats is you're able to get some kind of intel on your opponent sometimes. Maybe you can watch how they play. You can definitely look at their team, look at their weaknesses. I'll go over kind of the little process I do sometimes for battling, but there's a lot where if you're just doing a tournament or, playing showdown, you just have to basically build a team that's good. You can't, really build what you might be facing to a point. You definitely want checks for more popular things, but you can't just say, okay, I'm going to plan for this because it might not be there all the time. So,
Absolutely. That's actually one of the reasons why I prefer this over just doing the conventional tournaments as well. It's a bit more work, but it also feels less stressful. I feel like I'm in more control.
yes and no. I mean, there's always a little ounce of tenseness because you always want to win.
Oh, well, yeah.
Most people that play in the draft want to win. So, it's really being able to take. I think the most important things about draft leagues is knowing how to take a loss because you're going to lose. You're going to lose a battle. No matter how good you are, there's going to be someone that beats you. So just being able to take the loss, learn what you did wrong or could have done better makes a huge impact on your improvement.
Words from the wise to the wise.
I don't know if I'm wise, more like a wisecracker, but sure.
You could be both. I don't see why not. But anyway, 15. You alluded to it briefly when you talked about, coming in hot off of season 14 as the champion, found yourself in a hole, dug yourself out a bit, but it wasn't really enough to get you playoffs, but enough to not be relegated back to D League. Why don't you take us through that process, or not that process, but that timeline a bit of, you know, what happened, what didn't work, what clicked in your head, and what kind of shifts you made, and how that affected how you played your game and how you prepped.
Okay, yeah. So this is the crazy thing. So what I always like to do is I actually have a notebook where I'll write down notes, and I actually do have my old team on there, so I can kind of go over that a little bit. So originally, I had a pretty good team. I had Dragonite, Florges, Crocodile, Empoleon, Rotom Frost, Pythagoras, Venusaur, Zapdos, Chestnut, Delphox, and my Mega was Steelix.
Okay.
So on paper, I liked the team, but I felt like it was too Gen 8 because Dragonite is a good pick, but it didn't have the heavy duty boots, so it could be exposed with rocks. Like Gen 6, rocks was like the big thing. Like I didn't realize how big rocks and hazards were because they can literally cripple your team, and especially a Dragonite, that's a huge thing.
Oh
So
yeah.
I did make a huge amount of changes. I did end up uh, trading a good portion of them. I traded away Empoleon for Hexorus, and then I remember I switched out Rotom Frost. I'm trying to think. I thought I wrote down my new team too. But I traded a whole bunch of them. I got Volcanion out of them.
Oh yeah, Zapdos. You got rid of Zapdos too.
I did get rid of Zapdos. I got Rhyperior and a few others. But Volcanion was the big thing that helped me turn around, and there was a lot of luck that came with it too, because I know, for instance, the battle with Eric, I got really lucky with a crit in that battle, and I know he was not happy about that. There we go. And I ended up with Dragonite, Florges, Crocodile. I kept those three, and then I traded for Haxorus, which I don't even think I used.
I didn't. I was convinced that that was a trade you did just to help out Alan and give him some hazard removal.
I was looking at it because I was looking at other Hazel removal because I did get Avalugg, and then I switched it for Prinplup later on with my last trade. I ended up trading out Mega Steelix for Mega Beedrill, and then I did get Rhyperior. So one of the things I noticed on my team was I was lacking a little bit of speed, so that's why I wanted to switch out Steelix with Beedrill just so I could have that a little bit more speed. At the end, I was still able to do stuff, but it was just compared to some of the other teams that were on there. Like you had an amazing team. Deshaun had an amazing team. Like it was like even Liam when he made his trades, even before then, he had a really good team
He
too.
did.
So like even like it was one of those feelings like even if I make playoffs, I got to face one of these guys, and I just don't have the team to beat them. So it was one of those learning experiences like, okay, this is what I need to do better. If I do a Gen 6 again, I got to look at it slightly different than before because if not, then, like I said, I could have gotten easily regulated because I was 0-3 and I had a very bad differential at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, you know, it happens. It's funny you say you picked a really Gen 8 team because after doing that season, I look at my stuff and I'm like, oh, I'm still stuck in Gen 6.
I mean, yeah, now I'm looking at the team. Yeah, a little bit.
Not just that, I mean every season.
Like I said, and it was the funny part about season 15 was I think the last 2 or 3 weeks, I still had a legit shot of making it. All I had to do was win my games. Easier said than done, but all I had to do was pretty much win the last two, and I had an actual good chance, and I just couldn't pull through with it because I had to face you again, I think,
Yeah,
and that was
you had me and
no,
James.
and then yeah, that didn't work out too well.
Yeah, although, you kind of
And
down on Dragonite, but I mean, Dragonite was still good in 6th gen, just had to play around the Rocks weakness, unfortunately.
And that's kind of where certain aspects in draft helps and hurts because people see the Dragonite and go, okay, I got a plan for the Dragonite. And literally all you got to do is keep rocks out. And with my team originally, I probably should have kept Empoleon because he was a good defogger. He wasn't hurt by it because a lot of the defoggers and hazard removals, most of them were flyers, which will take a big chunk out of their HP to begin with. So like that's even why I had to go to Prinplup because Avalug was my rapid spinner, and he is so slow and he is so
Yeah.
especially defensively weak that it just puts pressure on it. Like I basically had to live with rocks, and my team was there was some good people that were hurt by rocks, so it was kind of tough at times.
Yeah, I really did like the Prinplup edition, though, at the end, once you realized that not having Empoleon was hurting.
Yeah, and even still, like okay, Prinplup wasn't a bad option. It's a good Everlight user.
Oh, yeah. Great utility. He had Yawn.
Yeah,
Solid.
that's the thing I remember because when I faced James earlier in that season, he basically set up Gyarados with a Eon Torkoal, and
Yeah.
I was not set up for it. And yeah, so hey, he got the win, but it was just like, oh man. I told him, I said, you're not going to do that to me again. So I managed to get revenge in our second game.
And I bet that felt really good.
A little bit.
Oh, man. So, before we move on, I want to touch on an unsung hero that we haven't mentioned yet for season 15 for you. And that, maybe we've mentioned it briefly, but that really is Volcanion. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know what that thing did, but it just picked you up, put you on its back, and told you everything was going to be all right.
yeah, I mean, that really became the focus part. I was, after the first couple of games where because I remember against Jeff, he basically won the game because of I ran Scarfed uh, Volcanion against him, which was extremely useful against his Sceptile. And it was just, he was able to sweep late game, and I probably could have utilized them a little bit better because I was trying a little maybe too hard to set him up maybe a lot earlier than would have been best for him because, he's got flame charge so he can get his speed up. You could smack a weakness policy on him and he could pretty much take a lot of hits and survive from it. And with the flame charge, he'll be able to outspeed a lot more than where he was at before. If you get 2 flame charges, he should almost outspeed anything that's not scarfed on certain mons. So
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, I was actually kind of looking at him, but I didn't go with him just because of uh, who I wanted as my Z mover. So
Right on. I was certainly surprised to not see it come back for your team, but
because
sometimes you
especially
got other plans.
Gen 8, he's got a few extra moves that make him even more versatile. So
And he dropped the tier.
Yeah, it was a tough call. I was looking at him and I liked where he was, and he actually was in consideration, but it's just when I draft, I always want to make sure that I get a little bit of better type coverage sometimes. You
Right
want to make
on.
sure you have almost every type. I think a lot of people kind of go into that mindset. You want certain types, like you want maybe a ground type, a flying type, a dark type, just so you have good checks for certain mons.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Sorry, as I was telling Jesse, we started our recording a little late, and I would like to say that there was good reason for it, but the fact of the matter is I passed out on the floor watching the 8-hour Victorious review on YouTube, and that's where my life is right now. But we're not here to talk about me, we're here to talk about Jesse. So, very famously, moving on to season 16, you have been alluding to a very different draft strategy that you've been wanting to save for to unveil for this interview.
Okay,
And
so
I've been very curious.
I wanted to try this new way because my drafting I wouldn't say is too bad, but um I probably draft more offensive than defensively, so sometimes it's hard for me to make switches because even my switch-ins might not be able to take a hit. So I did something stupid. I don't know if you looked at it, if you clicked the link that I sent you, but basically I took the draft chart that was in NPBF, and I basically wrote down the BSTs for all the mons. Now, I know that doesn't mean a whole lot because certain mons, like if you look at a Zoomerell, it's a 420, but it also has a really good ability. So
Yeah, it does.
it's more of a guideline, hey, I wanted to try to get higher BSTs because if the BST is higher on a mon, I'm naturally going to have better stats.
Makes
Um,
sense.
Like, for instance, the reason why I'll go over my team a little bit. The reason why I went with Kyron Black first, it's a 700 BST, and it's not a mega, which means I can put whatever item I want on it. Which I could do Choice Scarf, I could do Choice Band or Life Orb, which boosts its power more than a mega that 700 could do. So to me, that was a no-brainer. Even without Dragon Dance, I think it's worth it.
Right on. I mean, I wouldn't have even thought of that logic, but that is pretty flawless logic in that regard.
So mainly in my draft, I was looking at trying to get higher BSTs. Like my Dynamax user, I went with Regigigas, mainly because even with its slow start, it has actually pretty viable stats for the mons in there. And after it's a 670, and to me, it's not that hard because it also has a whole bunch of moves that rely on defense or weight. So you could even get away with the lack of attack with, you know, body press or heat crash to just still slam opponents with attacks and when you don't have your full attack up.
I hadn't even thought of that, but that is a very good point about Regigigas.
And that was the other thing I liked about the BSTs is you kind of get to see, which mons are higher. Like especially, I think this was useful actually in the DMAX because tier one, there's like a slew of great mons you could pick. Even Togepex was the lowest one with a 483. That's still a good one if you want something tanky that can take hits.
Oh yeah.
So, but with the DMAX, I think BST plays a huge amount into it because like there is actually like I would say about 15, 20 actual good DMAX mons that have a BST of 500 or more.
Oh, for sure. For
Like
sure.
I'm surprised no one picked Electivire or Magmortar. Like they kind
Well,
of
BK did pick Magmortar.
oh he did okay I probably didn't see that because my chart after I drafted I kind of stopped on it because I'm like I don't really need it anymore.
Yeah, he did grab Magmortar, but nobody grabbed Electivire, and I am shocked at that because I thought those two might have been too good to be D-Maxes and might have needed to be moved to the Z-move tier, but I think they're really good D-Max users.
And to be honest, before we mentioned it, I was looking at getting a special attacker. Like Delphox was a
Yeah, I was
early
just looking at
favorite.
your list. I'm surprised Delphox didn't get picked.
Well, when I looked at Regigigas, the other reason which I don't have to worry about it too much. I honestly, Regigigas is the ultimate Ditto answer. I can freely let him just do whatever he wants, and I'm okay with that because whenever Ditto comes in on a Regigigas, it gets a slow start. So even with the Scarf, I'm going to be faster to it as long as my slow start's gone. So
Wow.
I was looked at that and I do not like Ditto. Everyone knows I hate Ditto. Ditto
Yeah.
is like, I have a list of 3 mons I hate. Ditto, Shuckle, and Pumuku.
Oh, jeez. Oh my God, Deshaun didn't draft that.
What, Shuckle or Pumuku?
Pukimuku.
Oh, was he going to? Don't say that.
He has in other leagues.
I know his team from last season was really tanky. And I'm just like,
He really Pukimuku is one of his favorites from Sun and Moon. I can tell you that much.
I hate facing that mon. Not that I can't beat it. It's just
It's annoying.
it's it's very low skill to a point, and that's yeah. I mean, if you pick it, hey, that's on you. That's great, whatever. But you'll never catch me with that. If it's on my team, it's just because I don't want to face it.
Hey, that's a totally viable reason to draft something. Just so you don't have to face it.
But most of the mons I looked at, I didn't strictly just go, hey, let's go highest BSD because I did want to go look at certain stuff. Like I did want Typhlosion as my Z user because there's certain strategies that I like him, and he's a versatile mon when it comes to cheese. Because one of the things in draft, okay, and this works often than not, if you want to beat someone, you gotta plan for the unexpected. Like if you just go with the basic, Smogon build with all of my mons, you might be able to beat it. But if I put something in there that kind of surprises you, that's meant to counter a certain mon, then you might just be able to get the advantage. So there is like you can't go full cheese because then you just don't win because you don't build a good team. But having like that 1 or 2 moves where it's like, whoa, wait, he has this move? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of them, let's see, let me pull up the
I didn't think of Typhlosion as a really cheesy guy, but I'm
well,
sure he is.
there's certain people that I won't mention, Nate, that don't like him, but to be honest, he's a really strong fire type because he gets some of the strongest fire moves. Like you got your blast burn, which is your hyper beam. You got burn up, which is a super amazing cheesy move. He can learn overheat. He's got eruption, fire blast. Like he knows all of the strongest fire moves.
He does.
So I mean, and he's Charizard without wings, which is kind of good to a point.
That is true. That is true.
And
Especially
he has the same stats as Charizard too, which is ironic.
I didn't know that.
Yep, he's got the exact same stats.
That's really interesting, actually.
Yeah. So, okay, so looking at the draft, like I said, I was the first pick, so I don't usually like being first pick just because I'd rather be mid or lower so I can make a pair a little bit better. Because when you're first pick, there's going to be so many picks that go before you.
Yeah.
So when you're first pick, you pick the best mon, which to me was Kyron Black. To others, it might be different, so I have no problem with that, but that's what I went for. When it was my next turn, looking at some strong, like, best BST in Tier 5, Regigigas, which, like I said, even though it's slow start, you can get around that. It's still got it's a 110 in both of its defenses, and it's a 110 in HP, if I'm correct. Let me check.
That would make sense.
Yes, so it's 110 HP, special defense, and defense, which are pretty solid stats. So, and then I went with Metagross. It's a, let's see, I think it was like 580 or 600 BST.
It should be a 600 because it's
Yeah,
a
it's a
pseudo.
600 BST. Solid mon. It's weird in drafts because normally Metagross on like Smoggen's a lot lower, but in drafts it's very viable. which is amazing because it's like weird how much of a big difference there is between regular play and draft play on that one.
Yeah, you gotta love the that steel typing just makes it so much more viable in a draft.
Yeah. So got that. Next round, I noticed wanted a little bit more speed because the speed I had was kind of, meddling. I had Kyron
Yeah.
Black with 95, Regigigas, which has 100, but would start off with 50. Metagross is 70. Wanted to get a good dark type. Moltres was a good tier 3 pick, 580. So that kind of factored into that. I think when I picked tier 3, it's like, okay, that's one of the higher ones. It's good typing. It fills in. And then I decided I wanted something a little bit speedier. So I went with Nihilgo, which is 103. So, okay, we're doing good. After that, round 6 and 7, I actually was looking at complementing Typhlosion, so I did get Tapu Bulu,
Hmm.
uh, just to prevent the earthquakes, kind of dim them down. Because especially if I want to run something like an Eruption Typhlosion, minimizing the damage is always good. Also, it's a good bulky mon. It's got great attack, 115 defense, so even with its special defense, it's 95. I could throw an assault vest on that, and it'll take hits for days almost.
Plus, that grassy terrain's gonna definitely help Regigigas stick around to hopefully shake off its slow start.
Yeah, it gives you more variety for that because you could go with the variety of different ones if you don't want to go leftovers. If you want to go leftovers, you're just healing that much more. So definitely gives a little bit more. Uh, so I went with Typhlosion. Round 8 was probably the only kind of mess up. I did have a plan because I did pick up Mega Venusaur. But the reason why I said that was kind of a mess up because in my head I'm like, oh, I need a good poison type, completely forgetting the he'll go. So I'm like, oh, I don't have my Mega yet. Let's go with Mega Venusaur now. Mega Venusaur I also liked because it pairs well with Tapu Bulu. It gives you a check for Bulu, and it can utilize the grassy terrain if I want to go physical with it because with its Mega, it gets 100 attacks. So I can kind of surprise people because it's also got knockoff, grassy glide, it can utilize a lot of physical attacks with a serviceable attack, and especially since it's got sword stance and it's a bulky mon,
Oh
it can
yeah.
it can kind of enhance what Bulu does. So if I was to trade anyone, that might be one, but I might just stick and see how it works. It's still a good mon. It's still good BST for what it was. I was still looking at Mega Tyranitar because that's a 700 one that's somehow still available. But
Tyranitar would be an interesting addition to this team. Might have a bit of overlap with like Rhyperior, but
yeah, the only problem is I actually don't like how because it might not to be too bad because Nihilgo, Metagross, Rhyperior wouldn't be affected by it, but it would hurt Regigigas, it would hurt Typhlosion, and those are two mons I want to try to keep healthy as much as I can.
yeah.
So it's still a thought, but it's not giving me any extra type coverage. So I think it would kind of hurt me more than help me to a point because if I had a person that could really utilize like a Sand Rashomon, not a problem. But since I don't have that, I don't see it worthwhile enough. So
I totally get that. I definitely think with and also with the way you prioritize getting your Reggie as your D-Max, you definitely want to make sure you're building around that and helping it, not hurting it.
yeah. So round 9 wanted a little bit more speed, and I noticed I didn't have a water type, and like round 8 and 9 was the toughest because I had to strategize basically what these picks were and what my last two picks were because you only got so many points. You got to see which types are available, which ones you could draft. So that was a big kind of decision what came into that. So Inteleon's got great speed, 120, 125 attack. So that looks to be my speedy glass cannon probably. Might be able to do some other stuff, but even if I don't, I think it being specs or scarfed will be enough to put a little pressure on opponents.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have thought that for Inteleon, but that seems like a no-brainer when you put
And
it that way.
And tier 4, because I was looking at water types because I was looking at Mega Blastoise, but that's where that speed issue came into effect because
Yeah.
um, the one of the things I do is, like I said, I write down the team, I write down all their stats so I can visually see what I'm looking at. So I can say, okay, I've got so many special attackers, so many defenders. Here's how my speed looks. I can use that to adjust what I get for my next draft pick. If I need a special defender, something quick, something that hits physically hard or whatnot. So that's kind of what played into that. But like I said, I had to basically make the last 4 picks. So that's where Rhyperior and Rotom Fan came in. Rhyperior just good bulk, ground type, which was something I was missing at the time. Uh, I think it's a pretty solid tier 3. I think it was pick.
I mean, whatever tier it is, it's a solid pick for that tier.
Yeah, I mean to me, and it's a stealth rocks user. I can use either that or Hilgo. Rotom Fan was the big one. One of the glaring weaknesses, and I might try to address this or just work through it again. Yet again, I do not have a whole lot of hazard removal because none of my other people have that. So that's where
Yeah.
Rotom Fan came in because I'm like, I needed a Fogger. So team's not bad. Might need adjustments. Like I said, I might need another hazard removal because this puts a lot of pressure on Fan to come in, and that would kill me to have to bring him instead of maybe someone stronger that could actually remove it. So, but
Yeah, and you definitely want to get removal when you're building a team around Kieran Black, just so you don't have to constantly have boots on them.
yeah, that's true. But like I said, this was basically I used the BSTs to try to get the best BST mods in most cases. Like I said, there was some like Typhlosion wasn't the best tier 4 pick I could have probably picked, but it was still a good choice to me.
Those
So
Z fire moves that's gonna fire off are gonna be ridiculous. Like a Z
yeah,
blast burn, come on.
and especially if I'm low on health, yeah. And with that, or if I want to run Flash Fire, like both of those are pretty dangerous with him. So
Oh yeah, like the flash fire absorptions, or if you're like running a blaze. Oh man, Typhlosion's gonna do work for you, especially with how good fire is offensively.
yeah, that's the plan. So this is basically okay. Let's see how we are after a couple weeks. Make adjustments. I'm hoping I don't have to do much because I really like the team on paper because it did help me get more defensive mons because uh, just being able to switch in and not have to worry about my mons getting chunked so hard is amazingly useful, and it's definitely something useful into a draft battle because you've got people that like to play more aggressive and people that like to play more methodically. And in this league, there's definitely a lot of people that play methodically.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And on that subject, let's take a look at your division really quickly. How do you
Yeah.
feel about your division? We got
Um.
we got yourself, we got Jeff, we got Cavino, and we got the newcomer,
Yup.
somewhat newcomer, who's really an old comer in Quentin.
I don't think that was worded right. He's not a newcomer. He's an old comer.
Oh Jesus. I'm sorry,
Um.
Quentin.
Kind of excited. Jeff is always a tough guy. I remember there was one time where we were in several leagues where we literally faced each other like 3 times in a row in all different leagues. So he's always tough to plan for, and right off the bat is probably the toughest because you got to guess what he does, and if you get it right, hey, that's cool. If you don't, then you might be in trouble. And I know he picked an interesting first pick, so
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to see how he works around that because I know he wanted that as his main focal point. So I get to see firsthand because he will be my first opponent. So I'll get to see him. Gavino, we'll see how he does. He's got a lot of comfort picks. Dustclops, yeah, you know, Porygon 2, tanky people that can set up other people like his Mega Gyarados, Superior. He's got a good combination of, a little bit of tankiness to set up his really hard hitters that can kind of get out of control real quick. And then Quincy. Where's his team? Quentin, sorry.
Oh, so his team isn't updated on the dock,
Yeah.
but I have his changes in front of me, so I'll run those through really quickly. He dropped Crobat for Espeon, Mega Scizor for Mega Sableye, Rampardos for Eldegoss Max, Staraptor for Azumarill, Uxie for Forretress, and Tauros for Drifblim.
Yeah, I mean, even before the team was pretty tanky, and he actually kept probably two of the tankier people in Clefable and Goodra.
Yeah.
So he's definitely looking at having a good bit of bulk to set up some of his hard hitters. And even still, this team was pretty bulky. Oh, he's got Volcanion. Okay.
That's going to be a fun matchup for you.
Yes. It was actually funny because I was almost, and I'm still thinking about this, going to trade a Mega Venusaur for Scissor, but apparently people got a little frightened about that, so I don't know if I'll do that right away.
Hey, once you get through this game, once you get through that matchup, I actually think possibly dropping Mega Venusaur for Mega Scizor might not be a bad idea for you.
But I'm excited facing him because I know there's quite a few people, some of the old veterans in here that were happy that he came back. So I've never faced him before, but he seems like he's got a good reputation as being a tough battler. So
yeah, he's a good guy. He's a fun guy. I'm gonna say it again. He is a very good person, and he's also the person that I got to face in the finals for my title. So he's got a reputation for sure.
So yeah, I'll be keeping an eye. Like I said, I'll be looking at the teams, taking notes, and I'm hoping after week 3 I could possibly be 3-0. But I mean, every season the draft gets tougher because we're getting better people up here. So there's no real I look at all the people in this draft and I'm like, 2 of these people are gonna go next season, which is really tough.
Yeah, I could not tell you, looking at this list of 16, who I think is going to be the one that gets dropped, the 2 that gets dropped this season.
So it's going to be fun. 2 people are going to be sad, and then 1 person will be happy that they won it.
Yeah, hopefully that 1 person is you.
We'll see.
We
As
will
long as
see.
I got good battles, I can have, good battles with my team, have fun, not get 6-0'd. I'm okay with that.
Listen, as long as you do the work, you're not going to get 6-0'd. And you know what? You got Gav early. That's probably going to be a win. I don't remember if you face Gav later, but if you face Gav later this season, that's probably going to be a loss. Just don't let it be a 6-0 loss.
Yeah, that's right, because he's basically Regigigas. He's got a slow start.
Maybe he should have been the one that drafted it.
Oh, man.
Man, imagine that thing with Gav. Their slow start shakes off at the same time, and then all of a sudden, he's doing the inverse of what James did with Gyarados, and it gets that thing up to 20-0 at the end of the season instead of at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, that's right. James didn't draft Gyarados.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Like, he doesn't have the Mega or the regular. Gav has the Mega.
Does anyone have the regular?
No.
Really?
It went undrafted.
Oh, shit, there it is. Yeah, okay.
It went undrafted. I mean, I'm going to tell you, because I didn't tell many people this. If my special Gyarados set didn't work against James in week 3, I was going to drop it out of spite and pick up for Alligator.
Oh, my God. I kind of wish you did, man. Oh, man. He gave you a gift.
He did.
Funny little fact, we'll go over this really quickly. The reason why Alex got the Gyarados is because he made a bet on the championship game that I was a part of with another league member, James. And the loser, if I'm correct, basically had the winner pick him on for them. Am I correct?
So the way it worked would be if I won, I was going to be picking James's first round pick for him. And if James won, he was picking my rounds 2 and 3.
Okay. Because he picked Gyarados, and I forgot what else
Zoroark.
Oh my God. Zoroark didn't do anything, I don't think, but even still.
I tried. I planned it and had it on my teams a bunch. and then it never hit the field. I wound up bringing it, and then I dropped it for Dusknoir, who also never got played.
But I mean, he could have given you anything, and he gave you that gift.
Yeah, Gyarados was a gift. It helped me 6-0 Jamie. I threw it right back in his face when it was special. I'm so happy that Special Gyarados worked on him. That's the spice Jesse's talking about, by the way. You get to bring some spice like that sometimes, but you don't make it your whole team.
Like, one of my favorite things I did in a draft, it was actually, ironically, it was versus Alan. I had a Weather Ball Jolteon, and he had Excadrill. And I was running a Quick Feet. I always like running Quick Feet on Jolteons just because it's just more speed and it prevents you from being status from anything else, which is pretty useful. I basically baited him. He had something else, and I went with Rain Dance because I'm like, oh, he might think I'm going to try to hit with a Thunder. And he brought in Excadrill, and I used Weather Ball, and yep, KO'd it.
That's really good.
I mean, heck, even, granted, I still lost this, but in another league with Sean, he had Zacian C, so, you got your hands full with that. And I actually ran a Sassed Clefable counter, and I was able to get him with that. Because I'm like, maybe I can bait him with the Clefable, because I was looking at just the counter, just in general, and I had a Crocodile, but I'm like, I don't know if he'll stay in there. He'll stay in there with the Clefable, because there's no way I would be able to win that in his eyes, and I was able to keep the field clean, and I was able to do a Clefable counter and take that thing out before it did any more damage.
Wow. Wow.
Heck,
That's fun.
The other one I really liked was I was facing Tyler and the GSI, and I think it was GSI. And I noticed his team had a lot of special defenders because he had Ho-Oh and several other tanky people. So I ran Wonder Room against him. So yeah, that pretty much messed him up because I had Mega Gardevoir use that, and it was able to just.
Oh yeah, that's GSI.
Yeah, and that was pretty much the reason why I won that, because I'm like, I don't have the physical threats for it, but if I can pull off a Wonder Room, even if it doesn't faint the people that I need to, it's gonna do enough damage that I'll basically be able to read them and then make the adjustments for it.
Wow, that's the spice you bring. That's funny. So let's take a look at teams for a sec. We've talked in depth a lot about your team.
Yep.
And your process. But if you had to look at all the other 15 teams, which one would you say is your favorite on paper? We haven't seen any of them in practice, but which one vibes with you the most that somebody else picked out?
Okay, so if I'm gonna pick a team, let's see. Let's see. I'm looking at the teams right now. There are some pretty good teams.
Yeah, a few people have had difficulty answering this as well.
Yeah, I know. This is like, oh, geez, which one? I guess it would be easier to say which ones I probably wouldn't go with, but
yeah, do that. Which ones don't work with you?
First one is James. I mean, honestly, the same principle applies. I mean, if I had to pick Ditto just so no one else would have it, that would be okay. But not to say his team's bad. It's just there's It's a little. It might hit a few bumps. It's not a bad team, but
It's a James team.
it's a James. Like we did a few scrims just so we could get the kind of feel of our team. Because I'm like, yo, just build a team. We're gonna do some practice battles. Just build a team. We're not building for each other. Just build. Just stick some ons. Let's go. So, granted, the team that I built, he kind of countered really hard, but we did a couple. We won one. He won one, but uh, his team could be tough against the right people. I think it's got enough versatility. It might have trouble if Empoleon goes down with, hazards again, which when you look at Salazzle and Sharpedo, how frail they are,
Yeah.
that could do some damage to him. So he might look at something later down the road that will help with that. Because that's the thing that sucks about the Galarian birds is they don't have the fog, which really, really stinks. I don't like that. I wish they did.
I'm
That would help.
surprised they don't. You would really think that they would.
Yeah, because I mean, pretty much any bird has it. So,
Even Skuntank has it. That thing just farts.
there you go. It just removes it. I I probably wouldn't go with Jeff's team because that's a Jeff team. I like I said, I do like to play a little aggressive, and this is a team that looks like it might try to stall it. It does have some fast, hard-hitting mons like Alakazam, Blaspion, even Mega Kangaskhan can be kind of annoying, but some of the other ones, I do like Melodic a lot. I think that's one of the best kind of stall mons because especially with its Marvel scale,
Oh yeah.
amazing. Um, Seems kind of passive. I'll find out week one if I'm right or if I'm eating crow.
No, I
So,
think I looking at it, I think I agree with you about how passive it looks.
another team I wouldn't like to play with is probably BK's team.
That's a
It's
very him team as well.
yeah. I was like about to say, hey, we're not in Gen 6 anymore, but it's super passive, and there's just some mons that it looks weird. It feels weird. Like Archeops, I don't see how this fits the team. Abomasnow kind of feels like it was just thrown in there. Uh,
Well,
uh,
Obama Snow can set up Aurora Veil in this gen,
yeah,
so
but
that could be what he's thinking.
possibly. I mean, that wouldn't be bad, but I feel like you might have to sash or just put it in the right place. Dracovish is good because he's got. Oh wait, does he? I thought he had a sand user, but I guess not.
No, he doesn't.
So he might have to try to set sand with maybe Magmortar.
Magmortar, Nidoqueen.
I don't know if Magmortar has a stone move.
It gets Earthquake, I'm sure.
Oh, Earthquake raises special defense. It's rock moves that give you
Oh yeah, no, you're right. I must get Rock Slide.
maybe. I know. I'm pretty sure Electivire probably could.
Oh,
So,
Electivire does. Electivire 100% does. I know for a fact it gets Rock Slide because
but
I brought it for Jeff.
he does have the core, like the number one core for tanks, which is the Chansey Skarmory pairing. Like that's, I remember in Gen 6 and Gen 7, that was like basic OU stuff. You just brought that with you. And
I mean, it worked well for him in D-League. Granted, in D-League he had Blissey, but
yeah, so like I said, not to say it's a bad team, but I don't know how much fun I would have playing with that.
yeah, they said the same thing in the D-League rankings last season, and he won the D-League, so
yeah,
whatever
that's
works
true.
for him.
Yeah, I mean, if it's your play style, that's good. So I would probably say teams that I would like. I'd probably go with, let's see, three. I kind of like David's team. It's kind of got a lot of versatility. You got Hoop Unbound, who is an amazing wall breaker either way. You got Regieleki, which is like the definition of speed.
Oh yeah.
Ninetales Alola, you can set up Veil. Good Veil user, also quick. You got Vikavolt on the other end if you need to slow down people. Lapras Max, a great weakness policy user.
Oh yeah. I was talking about it with maybe Liam, who talked about how fat that HP is gonna be with it.
Yeah, and I I don't know what its stats off are offhand, but I know its attack and special attack are pretty similar. I think it's like in the 80 range for both of them.
Something like
So
that.
either way, like you're not gonna one hit KO it when it's maxing. I don't. You got to have something like like 2 times its attack or something to maybe take it down.
Oh yeah.
You got Mega Garchomp, which has a fierce attack. You got Blissey, good defender. You got Confagrous, another good tanky person. And then, you got other people, Lucario, Entei, that are also pretty strong. So this team kind of screams out, especially with Baratic, because you got uh, Ninetales to set up ice for him, which is
That's
really good.
true, and he can
And
slush rush.
you can also keep people off guard and actually go with Rain too with Lapras because it's the max form. So you
Yeah.
can easily set it up and keep your opponents off guard. So his team has a lot of utility. The only problem is, I'm probably going to say this with a lot of teams, he might struggle with hazards being put on his side of the field.
Yeah, the only removal I see is the Regieleki.
Because I don't, Vikavolt might get Defog.
I don't think it does. I just know it gets webs.
Let me check.
I think the Regieleki getting Rapid Spin is the only removal he has.
Yeah, and that's still a good one, but Regieleki is, I wouldn't say
Very frail.
frail.
It's frail.
It's it can get taken down pretty quick, but I mean, it's so quick that it puts pressure on you, and you might have to put in a ground type, which if you want to run rapid spin, if you don't have a ground ghost, then it'll get something done. So let's see. Vikavolt. But I mean, that's a more offensive team, which I would probably prefer to play.
Right on.
Okay, yeah, you're right. No defog for him, so.
Yeah, I mean, of the teams you've mentioned, David's is probably the one I'd be most interested in as well so far, just because it's more offensive.
But I mean, even let's see. Looking, your team kind of intrigues me a little bit because it's got a lot of different stuff that you can hit with. You got good solid options. Like Licky Licky's a great lower tier pick for tankiness, can set up a lot. You got Corviknight, who's just annoying to deal with. You got Wobbuffet for reasons.
Listen, Wobbuffet was a joke pick, but talking to Liam, it was like, Wobbuffet could trap your Dynamax user and just click Destiny Bond.
Yeah, that's true. And if it's like an offensive one, which most people will be running, yeah, that could be bad. So that's not a bad option, and I can't wait to face it. Yay!
Yeah, we
But
do face. Yeah, we do get to face, and so it'll be an interesting game.
I would say your team is probably something I could get down with too. Mew is one of the most versatile mons. I always have a little trouble fully utilizing it, but I know how potent it is.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of this team is to make it so that Mew doesn't get pigeonholed into any one role.
Yeah, and it does, like, you got speed in Jolteon, hard hitters in Haxorus, Nidoking. Samurott is a pretty dang good D-Maxer. That was one of the options I was looking at too. Mega Altaria is pretty good. It's got some nice bulk. And Fernape, that versatile thing. Miss Magius, I think, is a pretty good Z user too. It's got a good special attack. It's frail, but I mean, if you can get off one good Z move, then that's doing its job.
And it's quick, and it's got a pretty wide move pool too. That 105 speed is good.
Okay, but I would probably say, for kicks and giggles, the worst team that I would never want to play with is Anthony's. His team is awful. I don't even know what he's doing in this league. I just had to do that. He's got an interesting team. I'm intrigued to see if he can fully utilize it because there's parts where I would not mess with. Like, I know he's all about Vibaro maxing. I'm intrigued to see how well it works.
Well,
If
it
it
gets a
works.
simple boost, so
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
it gets Airstream, it gets Knuckle.
I mean, still, I mean.
I'm curious. Do you happen to know if simple works, where if it gets Intimidate dropped, that attack stat goes down by -2?
Yep, it does. And if you get hit with the D-Max that lowers it, it goes down by 2. So it's a double-edged sword if you can use it against them correctly.
Ooh, okay. So the conversations I've had with some of the other coaches and interviews do come into play against Anthony.
But one of the things
Interesting.
by barrel, let's see. BST, it's a 410. It was one of the one of the more worst options. I mean, you're basically got all the early rodents in all the games like Raticate, Furret, Gumshoes. They're all in that kind of 420, 410 kind of area. Um, Simple is nice. That's cool. Uh, but Simple ain't gonna save you when you only have 60 defense and special defense. And your
That's what
speed
I
70.
said.
I'm like, yeah, okay, you got an airstream off. That's nice, and you're dead
Yeah. Yeah. That's
because
the
you
reason why he was allowed to stay in D-Max tier.
because 85 defense. That's not too bad. You're gonna use a max knuckle. It's a reduced attack because it does boost attack. So because of that, it's what an like 90 or something like that when it's D max or something like that. Okay, great. You boost your attack. Your speed 71. Oh, you boost your speed. Your attack's 85. So you might be able to boost if you boost your speed first, but I just don't see it.
It's gonna
I'm,
be interesting.
but he does have other good things. He has another simple user in Zubat. Uh, Swoobat is another simple user, but with the Z crystal, it's going to be tough to pull off a Z move because that thing is just as fragile. So
It's another early route Pokemon.
yeah, but he's got Wacky, Muckalola. Like there's a few that I wouldn't mind messing around with. Like Melmetal is a good tier one. Rotom Heat, Mega Gardevoir is one of my favorite megas. So you got some good stuff there. It's just I know I'm kind of messing around, but that would probably be my pick of team I wouldn't want to play with, and I'd probably say David's would be the one I'd want to play with if I wanted to do another team that's not mine's.
That's fair. I think David's kind of suits you.
Yeah, I mean, freaking two peas in a pod. So
That's true. That's true. Uh, One last question. We've talked about your division a little bit and the people you'd have to face there, but I'm not sure if you've taken a look at your schedule. But why don't you take a look at it now if you haven't? I'm curious, of everyone you're scheduled to face in the regular season, who is the coach that you are most interested or looking forward to facing?
um, to be honest, it would be uh Liam.
Oh yeah?
Liam and Rennie are the two guys I look forward to the most because not to say everyone's not good, but there's certain people that just like push me to do harder. And it's not because they're actually doing it. It's just like, I'm like, dude, I got to beat these guys. I just got to beat them. Like the battles are so fun. I just want to beat them,
I
you
mean, they
know,
have a reputation.
like Liam, the first season I was in there, he beat me with a girder. He almost swept me with it. And uh,
Whew.
I hated it when it happened, but I'm like, dude, you know what? He just planned for it better. I got to be better next time. And then the very last week, I managed to beat him. And then the first week of the playoffs, we were facing each other again.
And then
And
you
I lost that one. And it sucked because afterwards he's like, yeah, I just used the same team as the last week. I'm like, oh, no, don't say that.
no.
But, he went to the finals. He lost. Who did he
He
lose?
lost to James James
Okay.
Howard.
Okay, so yeah, he managed to get there, but he fell a little short. So he's he managed to win it this year, and even the season I won, I had to go through him again. So he's like, to me, I know he's new in NPBF, but dude, he's tough to face. And
He
Rennie's the
is.
same too. Rennie has that reputation where you're like, okay, you got to do your best. So to me, I'm facing Liam week 7, and then uh, I'm sorry, week 8. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. I was looking at Goons, of course. And then I know I face. Which week do I face him? Oh man, no, no.
Let's see.
Oh, I gotta play Scalvino at the end. No.
So do I. Don't worry.
Okay. No wait. Oh, I guess I don't face Rennie. I thought I did
I
because
thought you
Rennie's dark.
did.
Oh yeah, he's Dark Rise, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I faced him week 7. So week 7 and 8
So
will be.
see, back to back. Those are your dream weeks.
I would say probably out of people that I faced, because I don't know if you're gonna ask this, but I'm gonna go ahead. Like people I least want to face. I don't know. I don't think there's a real bad one. I might say Jeff because he's the same. You want to beat him, but he's annoyingly good.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to facing that Go-Goat.
But I mean, like Gavino, okay, face him twice. Okay, that's we'll see how he does. I got Anthony. That'll be fun week 11 towards the end. I'm facing you week 10. That'll always be fun. Always
That'll be a
looking
good
for that.
one.
Get a free win in week 9 facing James Walter. So I hope he hears this.
He will.
You
I'm
know, we got the
sure he's accounting or doing some financial advising while he's listening.
right. Week 6, I got Sean. Always good match with that one. I got Steve in week 5. That's going to be a fun one too, because Steven is also annoyingly tough, but he's also one that when you beat him, it feels good because he's really that tough to beat. Like none of his matches are a gimme. And then week 4 will be interesting because I'm facing Brock this week, so I'm sure he'll want to beat me that week. So that'll be fun too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how his games go. He kind of just breezed on through D-League, and I'm hoping that isn't the case up here.
I mean, he's a good battler.
He is. He's a very good battler.
So we'll see how that ranks up with the higher ones, because like him and David just got promoted. So David's faced a lot of these, but I will say this, David, he is the most roller coaster kind of battler, because when he's on it, he is on it, man. And the same thing with James, because James there was this period where he was just playing out of his mind. And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, where were you? Where have you been?
That's what I was wondering. That's what I was wondering last season, where it's like, where have you been? And then we find out he did the second half of the season drunk off his ass. And that explained a lot more things.
But David's got like I said, when he's on this game, he's tough to beat. But
I mean, that's how I feel about you.
But then again, he can lose to anyone too, and I hate to say that, but
I mean, that's how I feel
I'm
about
not even
you.
kidding. The blueprint for a David battle. Battle begins. Something happens that goes wrong. Oh shit, I lost. Ends up winning somehow.
That's what happened to GSI.
I can't tell you how many times that has happened. Where he's like, "Oh man, I lost this," and I'm just like, "Okay, I'm gonna watch it." Like the championship battle he was in that one. I'm like, "Oh man, he's not gonna win this," and then I'm just like, "Wait, he's actually gonna win this," and then he won. And I'm just like,
that was my experience watching that game.
There's a David battle.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I feel the same way with you, but I don't know.
Yep.
You have a title. David doesn't have an NPBF title.
No, not yet. I mean, like I said, I kind of got lucky with the one I won, and even still,
look at it. That's the game we play. Pokemon wouldn't be Pokemon without luck.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can't tell you. Like I said, like the battle against Eric last season, where I managed to do a crit on his Rotom to a Rotom Wash, which was the only way I was gonna win that. So, go figure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he still wound up having the same record as Eric. It just was different. His differential was better than you at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you were both 5'7".
Yeah, because Eric for a while was in danger being that second one, and then he
started winning.
Yeah, he just went, and the big battle was the second to last week because he was facing Alan, and if Alan would have won, that would have pretty much almost put the dagger in the coffin. But unfortunately, he didn't win. So
Well, yeah, but then Eric just went and beat Deshaun in the final week.
yeah, I think Deshaun has that switch too. Like I said early on, like his team was amazing, and then there's just like sometimes where he faces a team that I think gives him kind of a roadblock kind of thing. Like it's kind of weird because there was a match where I felt like I'm like, is he playing? Because I feel like he can play better than this. And I don't know if
Yeah,
maybe he's preoccupied or something. I'm not to say Deshaun's a great battler, so I'm not trying to say he's bad. I'm just like, I feel like you can play better than this. Like,
he
come on.
definitely gets like taken off his game easily if there's stuff going on in life, or he's tired, or he's distracted.
Yeah. And when I play people, I want to try to play them at their best. So understandably, shit happens. So sometimes that might be hard, but yeah.
Yeah, I think if Deshaun never seems off, that's why. Usually, it's because he's got something else going on.
Well, with his job, it's keep him pretty busy too.
Yeah, the life of a firefighter ain't easy.
But yeah, I mean, I we got so many tough competitors. Like I can't even say, oh yeah, this guy's probably gonna be in the playoffs and win it all because the teams are pretty good. I wouldn't say one team's overwhelmingly better than the other. It's just going to be basically planning and just making the right moves.
Oh yeah, 100%. Although I will say, looking at the divisions, you have one of the two easier ones.
Which one do you think's because which other division do you think is easier?
The Goon Squad division.
Oh,
James,
James
David, Sean.
and Jason. Yeah, I
Yeah,
could see that. Because I remember, what was it? I think it was season 14. Jason was like 7-1, and then he just lost the rest of his games, and I don't think he even made it to playoffs. And James managed to win that division.
that's wild.
Yeah, because James was kind of like a little bit below 500. I'm like, oh man, Jason's running away with this, and then just kept on going, and then there we go.
Yeah, as opposed to the division I'm stuck in with Steven and Anthony and Liam.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a pretty tough one. I would say, yeah, I would say that's, yeah, I would probably say that's the toughest one because you're a tough battler. Steven's fucking tough.
Liam
Liam's
is fucking
tough.
tough, and Anthony is fucking tough.
Yeah, I can't. I haven't battled Anthony enough, so to be fair, I can't really say if he's tough or not. But
His
I'm
team
sure.
building is what's tough.
Yeah, so
He's got a really good mind for it.
because even like Hammerlock, Rennie's you got Rennie, you got
The Hammerlock one is the other really rough division. I feel so
um
badly for Eric.
yeah, I Eric might struggle in there, so this is going to be tough. If he can come out like 2-1 after the first 3 weeks, I think he's okay with that. I would
He's just
say
trying
that.
not to come out 0-3.
So I mean, you just got to plan right,
Yeah, he's got a
Uh,
good team.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's got the potential to be good. He's shown it in other leagues where he
Yeah,
can play really well. It's just, I think it's just the confidence issue, and it's tough to be positive because he was on a bad losing streak last season, and it's sometimes tough when you just keep on losing and you're trying. And like I said, when you get crits that just basically give away the win to the other opponent, then it's
yeah,
tough, dude.
it's real tough.
Like dream scenario I think most of us would like is, coming down to the last mon between each person, 1v1, you just blow for blow taking each other out. It's not a sweep on either side and just one thing happens to work for the one person at the end.
Yeah, yeah, that's totally. Hey, so you're probably wondering, why did Jesse's interview get cut right in the middle? Why am I speaking right now? It seems like Jesse was in the middle of a thought, or you both were in the middle of a thought. Well, right as Jesse finished that thought, he went on a really, really rough tirade about Ditto and James. In fact, that James picked Ditto, and they picked it round one of all places. And he said a lot of things that we just can't repeat on this channel. And let's just say that James, you may not want to bring Ditto against Jesse, or do. I don't know. You're gonna set him off one way or the other. But you know, there was a lot of harsh language involved, and I just don't think it's right to put that out in the public eye. So we're gonna cut all of this until Jesse just calmed himself down and was ready to just speak publicly again.
There's a lot of tough competitors. I'm really interested to see how my process works. I mean, this is kind of the thing. This is a very rough draft with how my team went.
Hello, NPBF.
But if this is something that's fairly successful, if I can make tweaks to it and make better adjustments, it might be something to go to. Because like I said, the team that I have, I can actually switch fairly well, which it's been kind of a trouble. But like I said, there are a few weaknesses. If anyone listens to this, they know what to plan for. So, you listen to this, you'll see, oh, he said this, he said this. That'll give you ideas. So, which is I'm hoping what you're doing, because if you're listening to it, that means you're giving us more views, which is always a good thing.
Indeed. More views are a good thing.
Always. Get more people. We got D-League. There's always people that we want to add in, get the competition up, because if D-League gets that much tougher, it'll make our A-League that much better too. And we're already beginning to see that.
Definitely. Alrighty, well, very wise words coming from Jesse. Very well said. Jesse, thank you for coming and for joining me. So far, this has been the longest one.
Well,
I think was your goal.
I'm hoping, well, that would be nice, but I'm hoping I get another interview at the end of the year.
I am too, because I want to be able to check in and see that this did well. I want to know that your drafting strategy worked for you.
I'm hoping so too, but like I said, knowing me, I'm probably going to make a few changes. It's just like I said, the Mega Venusaur might be the thing to switch out. But, I'm going to try a few things and see how it works first.
I think that's the way to go. Well, for everyone watching, well, first off, thank you for giving Jesse the attention. We know he loves it.
Oh, shut up.
But also, tune in for the remaining interviews and also for the coming weeks and see how things pan out for Jesse. See if he's going to have to make some changes or if what he's done is going to work out for him.
I mean, yeah, you're gonna have 15 other interviews if you haven't listened to any other ones. So there's gonna be chock full of knowledge. If you like draft, listen to it.
Oh yeah. I know if I wasn't conducting these, I'd be listening.
So who's gonna do your interview?
That's a good question.
You're gonna just talk to yourself?
You know what? If you get me in the right mindset, I could just talk into this by myself.
So, Alex, what do you think about your draft team? Well, I was thinking tier 1. I was looking at this pick, and, I thought I'd pick this.
Realistically, it'll probably be handled by Jeff, but I know Deshaun would like to get involved in some capacity.
Oh, man. Ooh, if Deshaun does that, that would be almost must listen to.
I think so. I think you're right. Actually. We might have to arrange that.
Even if, hell, I wouldn't mind doing it, but it's whoever you want to do it, I guess. Jeff, Deshaun, whoever.
Yeah. I haven't given it much thought, but I got some time to figure that one out.
Yeah, right, with all the interviews you got to do.
Yeah, I'm put mine is a very low priority right now. I still got to get all the boys who are in different time zones. I should probably do Shawnee while he's still got free time.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Alrighty, but with all of that, again, thank you all for listening. Stay tuned for more, and until then, we'll see you next time.